You know, this movie reminded me a lot of the all-female lead Ghostbusters reboot, and I'll explain why in my review.
Gotten Gola.
So, there's been quite a bit of, in my opinion, unwarranted controversy surrounding this movie. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into a whole politically charged social justicey rants. At least not yet. I actually do want to talk about that, but the controversy surrounding Brie Larson and all that. But I'll save that until after I rate the movie. For now, I'm just going to talk about the movie itself. So this movie has been garnering a lot of hate even before it came out, mostly thanks to Brie Larson and doing and saying some, in some people's opinion, questionable things. And I said in the intro to this video that this movie reminded me a lot of the all-female Ghostbusters reboots, and that is because of how similar the controversies surrounding each movies are. Basically, the basically with both movies, the initial trailers come out, people are really divided. People really don't like it. People start to argue over the movie even before it comes out. With both the Ghostbusters reboot and Captain Marvel, people there's a lot of people that automatically assume it's going to suck before it even comes out. They start to hate the female leads and even send death threats against them, which is just not okay. Just threatening to end someone's life in general is just not okay. So the pattern of the controversy surrounding both these movies is really similar, and also something that's really similar is that, in my opinion, both sides are wrong. There were two extremes with both these movies. People with both the Ghostbusters reboot and Captain Marvel, people were either like, "Oh, this is gonna be the worst movie ever. This is going to suck. It's going to be awful." And then there are people that were like, "No, you guys are being sexist. It's going to be amazing." And neither side is really right. With the Ghostbusters reboot, it wasn't good, but it wasn't awful. I thought it was fine. It was there were some parts that were really funny. Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, especially, I thought were pretty funny. And Captain Marvel, same thing. It's not great. It's not awful. It's fine. It's competent. It's enjoyable. There's quite a bit to enjoy about this movie, so I'll get into positives with Captain Marvel first. So the main two things that I really liked in this movie: Ben Mendelsohn, Samuel L. Jackson. They're both fantastic in this movie. Ben Mendelsohn, especially as the villain Talos, I think you say his name. Basically, Ben Mendelsohn was awesome. He was great. He was a great villain. Definitely one of the better villains in the MCU in general. Samuel L. Jackson as a younger Nick Fury was great because he is what I liked what they did with Nick Fury in this movie is that they presented basically he's very similar, but you can tell that he's younger, he's less experienced, he's not as jaded, he's a little bit more hopeful than the Nick Fury that we're familiar with. He is definitely less jaded, and he still has both eyes, obviously, as you saw in the trailer. And Samuel L. Jackson did a really good job. Basically, every actor did a pretty good job. Jude Law was good. His character and his performance weren't necessarily that memorable, but he was good. Annette Bening was in the movie for I don't even remember. Actually, don't even remember her character that much. Ronan, his presence in the movie is just a glorified cameo. If he was cut out of the movie, it wouldn't change a thing. And now let's get into Brie Larson. Again, I'm not going to talk about the controversy surrounding her. I'm going to save that for after I rate the video. But I'm going to talk about first her performance and then her character. Her performance, so Really quickly, let me tell you guys about a movie last year that came out called First Man. First Man is a biopic about Neil Armstrong where Ryan Gosling played Neil Armstrong. A common complaint with Ryan Gosling and Neil Armstrong is that he gave too subtle a performance. He rarely emoted any emotions. The character of Neil Armstrong was very stoic and hid his emotions. And a lot of people didn't like that, but personally, I really liked that a lot. I thought it was a nice arc. Spoilers if you haven't seen First Man, but basically in First Man, his daughter dies, and that breaks his heart so much that he basically shuts down emotionally, and he basically hides himself and basically is cold to everyone around him, and especially his family, his sons, and his wife. And his family really doesn't like that. And there's this whole arc where basically he has to learn to basically be more open with his emotions, and he accepts the fact that his daughter died. There's a scene where he's finally able to make it to the moon, and on the moon he's holding this bracelet that his daughter Karen made for him, and he lets her go. It's symbolic. He drops the bracelet into a crater, and it's a great scene. The character of Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, is very similar to Neil Armstrong. She's very stoic. She's rarely emotes emotion. She's very jaded. She hides herself. She hides a lot of things about herself emotionally from other people. And I thought that that really worked. I really liked her emotional arc in this movie. Personality wise, she is pretty boring. I actually do think that personality wise, she is definitely one of the most boring characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more boring than Doctor Strange and Ant Man, who I like their movies, but the characters themselves are pretty boring. But the emotional arc I liked a lot. Uh, Without getting into spoilers, she does emote some emotions, and yes, she does smile. She does smile in this movie. She's not all like, um, but I really liked her emotional arc, and Brie Larson, performance-wise, I thought that she was really good. Like really good. Like she has an Oscar for a reason. She's a really good actress. She's not a terrible actress, and you can't really judge a performance solely based on a trailer. There are a lot of people that saw the trailer and they were like, "Oh, her performance is terrible." No, it's not. It's not. She has her moments in this movie where she really is able to flex her. Basically, she shows off her acting skills. Action, CGI, pretty good. Nothing amazing. The action was pretty decent. All the stuff involving Nick Fury was great. This movie overall was just fine. It doesn't really do anything special, with the exception of the post-credit scenes. Stay in the theater for both the post-credit scenes, especially the first one. The first one that plays like right after the main credits. Stay for that one. They reveal something really big that ties in into Avengers Endgame. Stay for that one. Trust me. You want to stay for that one. And the second one is pretty good as well. Oh, also, Goose the cat. Goose the cat was pretty cute, pretty funny. Uh, Positives. I mean, again, CGI. Uh, there were moments, but getting into negatives, overall, the movie was just kind of bland. It's the first hour was very slow, just very slow. I really had because Captain Marvel is a very stoic character. I said that I praised that, but initially, because she's very stoic, it is kind of hard to get emotionally invested or connected with her character, which works in some movies. Like it works sometimes. You don't really like the character, but then you get really invested into them later on. That was kind of how I felt about John Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Initially, I was like, oh, this kid's a brat. But then at the end, I was like, I love this kid. This John Connor is awesome. And it took me a while to get invested in the movie because I wasn't getting invested in Carol Danvers. She's not exactly the most. Again, she is a pretty boring character. She's, in my opinion, one of the most boring characters in the MCU overall, more so than like Mantis and, like I said before, Ant Man. And it did take me a while to get invested. The first hour is pretty boring. It does pick up later on. The stuff with Nick Fury, especially with the stuff with Nick Fury, but initially I was like, oh, maybe this will not be that good. As for other negatives, I guess a couple of editing choices and some of the dialogue. I'm really nitpicking here. These negatives aren't that big. A couple of dialogue isn't that good. Editing is kind of eh. Cinematography is kind of eh. But again, these are all nitpicks. The only major issues I have with the movie are that the first hour is too slow, and Carol. It did take me a while to get invested into the story and Carol Danvers. I think that people on both sides, but especially the naysayer side, are exaggerating. Like, this movie isn't amazing. This movie is definitely competent. It's definitely not awful. I mean, for these people to judge the movie and even boycott the movie is just ridiculous. And I think that people, especially if you're invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you should see it. And I think that you would have a good time. It's not great. It's not even good. It's just fine. And and sorry, something else I forgot to mention is that even in the second half, when it does get interesting, it never fully reaches the peak that I wanted to, with the exception of the first post-credit scene. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say about the movie itself. I am about to go into sort of a rant about Brie Larson herself and the controversy surrounding this movie. So if you don't want to hear that after I rate the movie, which is going to be right now, you can just stop watching. I'm going to give Captain Marvel a 6 out of 10. Alright, so now we get into the section of the video that's probably going to make you dislike the video and unsubscribe from me, but I just have to get some stuff off my chest and I have to address my issues with the controversy. There has been a lot of hate garnered against this movie and specifically against Brie Larson. A lot of people especially don't like the fact that she basically said that she doesn't care or will not take seriously any male critics, and that pissed off a lot of men, obviously. And I think that a lot of the hate garnered against Brie Larson is definitely unwarranted. Yeah, I mean, it isn't good to talk negatively about a race, gender, ethnic group, religion in general. Like, I think it's absolutely despicable if anyone who looks down at a race, gender, ethnic group, religion, sees them as inferior, is is not good, is not being a good person. And I think that the and I think that Brie Larson, I mean, yeah, I mean, I do think that her words are a little extreme, but I do understand where she's coming from. It's extremely likely that she herself has gotten a lot of hate, whether it's like on social media or direct mail. She's probably even gotten some death threats. I am 90% sure that the cast of the female Ghostbusters reboot got not just hate mail, but death threats. That's really serious. When someone threatens to end your life, that's really serious. And I'm 95% sure that Brie Larson got threats to end her life, and that a lot of the hate garnered against her is from men, is from stupid men. So it's not too unreasonable for her to have a slightly less positive opinion on men. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario. So let's just say you're a young man, you're a young boy. Uh, you ask out 10 different girls, just throughout your middle school, high school, college, whatever. You ask out 10 different girls. All of them say no, and then all of them make fun of you and talk crap about you to their friends, and their friends then make fun of you, and basically you feel really humiliated and awful. Now these 10 women are obviously not all the women that this young boy knows, but still, that experience could be so awful and traumatic for him that from then on, he would have a slightly less high opinion on women, a more negative opinion on women. It's definitely not okay for him to have a negative opinion on women, but it's not completely unreasonable as to why. And I feel the same way with Brie Larson. If she is looking, I feel like if she is looking down on all men in general, yeah, that's not okay, but it's not completely unreasonable as to why she is thinking that way. If she even is thinking that way at all, she could just solely be talking about critics or trolls and jerks on the internet who say all this misogynistic, sexist stuff and they're sending her death threats. I think that her words and reactions aren't completely over the top and are understandable. Like I said earlier, if you do look down on a gender or whatever, whether it's you look down on men or you look down on women, I don't think that's okay. But her reaction isn't completely unreasonable. But I do think that the reaction to her words are is unreasonable. Like really, like guys, like her words. I saw this video. I didn't actually watch the video, but the title said Brie Larson is ruining Marvel. She's not ruining Marvel, okay? Marvel is this huge, big universe, $1 billion making franchise with 21 movies now. One actress out of this whole big thing, one little part, is not going to ruin an entire $1 billion making franchise. Just, she really isn't ruining Marvel. Her words don't affect the movie at all. And also don't boycott the movie. Like if you don't like Brie Larson, that's fine. But there are so many other people that have worked on this movie that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making this film. And if you boycott the movie, you're kind of disrespecting them too. So don't boycott the movie. But anyway, I just think that all the hate garnered against the movie and against Brie Larson specifically is definitely blown way out of proportion. Like it's definitely unwarranted because the movie isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's really not. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of people who are saying boycott the movie or that they hate Brie Larson or that they think she's ruining Marvel need to calm down. Wow, this video is really long. Sorry. If you were truly offended by what I said, I'm really sorry. I do think that a lot of these people are acting unreasonably, but I'm not actively trying to offend anyone. I just wanted to get some things off my chest. There's still some things, but I'm gonna stop for now. Alright, so thank you again so much for watching. Well, I mean, not again because I'm saying it first time. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of the controversy and what you think of Captain Marvel, the film itself. Alright, thank you again for watching, and bye.